You triggered me first by saying I slept with your husband.
A statement was made.
Dabota Lawson, did I sleep with your husband?
Yes.
Now you now come 10 years later to now say I slept with your husband. How?
And she said, Dabota, you were a snake. You went blah, 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 blah from 8 years ago. I was like, wow, are we living in that time? Me too. I can easily say, I don't with you because once upon a time you used to date my ex. Before I could say anything, just split up.
Woo! Finally, it's ended. I mean, guys, I don't think right now there's anybody that's more relieved than I am that this season of the Real Housewives of Lagos has finally come to an end. Yes. I mean, guys, left to me, I was particularly dreading the second part of the reunion show. Yeah. I was dreading the second part for the sole reason that I knew that it was going to be mostly about this Carolyn and Dabota's feud. And I knew that we weren't going to see the end of it. I knew it was going to be a waste of talks. I knew it was going to be a long ass conversation. I knew we will not get to the bottom of it all. And guys, my prediction was not wrong because that was exactly what it was. These two women spoke at length. They told their own side of their story, which in my personal opinion was not particularly straightforward because of course we know that the show is heavily edited because of time and whatever reason production has. Yeah, so it wasn't really clear to me, guys. The major thing I picked from both their stories was that these two people are actually hurt. They have both hurt each other. Yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, they need to talk things out. They need to have a sit down, like a grown women sit down and have a lengthy ass conversation. If they care to. Yeah, I mean, that is if they care to. Let me just put out that disclaimer now. It is not by force. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the past 8 years that they were not in each other's lives, they were actually doing great for themselves individually and whichever, circle they were thriving in. They were thriving, right? And we know their story. We see their story out there on social media, even the ones that they do not share on social media. We know that they do well individually. But if they really care to maybe reconcile, they really need to have a grown women's sit down conversation to trash things out. Because guys, as far as I'm concerned, even though there is a part 3 or a part 4 or a part 5 of the reunion show, us the viewers, we still will never get to the bottom of this dear conflict. We still will never get to the bottom of it all. Yes. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not particularly interested because I've told you all before, whatever is not shown to us on the show, I do not really care much to dig into it because at the end of the day, even though we call it a reality TV show, it is not entirely reality. It's not entirely reality, the reality of the true lives of these women. Yes, so I'm not really interested in probing about their personal lives and whatnot. Yes, However, despite the many talks, you see that Dabota's accusation that Dabota slept, or rather Carolyn slept with her husband, guys. Apparently, it was just her playing tit for tat. Yeah, it's not true. It was her playing tit for tat. According to her, the way she had explained it tonight, she had said it because Carolyn had also accused her of going to her ex-husband's house with her friend and they were dancing one corner or something like that. And the way she had interpreted the one corner thingy, it was more like her sleeping with Carolyn's ex-husband. So she too had decided to freely throw the same tat as well against Carolyn's tit. And Carolyn was quite upset about it. She was really upset. Like, why would you accuse her of committing adultery? Why will you accuse her of doing such a thing? You know, like that never even happened. Then she had gone on to explain a lot of things, which were actually a lot, guys. I'm not even going to waste your time going into all of them. But as I mentioned at the start of this video, it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot. And there were just a lot of foreign names from Caroline's end and also from Dabota's end. Too many foreign names. And it's making me wonder, like, oh my goodness. We've got 6 cast members this season, like 6 lead cast members this season. But the amount of names that have popped up from this Caroline and Dabota situation, it's like we actually have extra cast members that we don't even know about. And then there is also Dabota's friend Ayi, who seems like an almost prominent member of the cast members this season, guys. It's just so chaotic. It's just so chaotic. But anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. Now, going back to the host's question to Caroline, which is the same question that we have all been asking. I mean, guys, particularly myself, I have been asking that question over and over again, that looking at the fact that these two people, they have a history, like a negative history. Why did Caroline invite Dabota to her house, and then Dabota did not show up, and then invited her in return to her own house? Why did she even honor the invitation? Why? And the same explanation Caroline had given on the show, that was the same explanation. According to her, these two people had not seen each other for about 8 years or thereabout after the whole situation that happened between them. And then they had met each other again on the show, and she had decided that, okay, fine, you know what, we're going to be on the show, we're going to be shooting for months and whatnot. Let's have a conversation. Let's see how we can resolve our differences. That was why she had invited Dabota to her house. Now, the part that I really gotten her suspicious was the way Dabota had crafted her message, that she had sprained her ankle. She had an like a home accident, and she can't even move. Yeah, that she can't even move. She had to get a local nurse to come and give her some, is it anesthetics or something like that, and only for her to go to Dabota's house and saw that Dabota could actually move around. And then there was Dabota's friend A in the kitchen, you know, the same person who she does not, who, you know, she did not want to see, who they don't like each other. And we all know the story of A anyways. And for her, that got her really suspicious, that it seemed like Dabota planned the whole thing, you know, to lure her to her own home, you know, knowing fully well that A was going to be there. You know, so there was also the question, or not really a question, but more like an accusation from Dabota that, oh, the same person you said you don't like, that, you know, tried to get your bag from you, like hinder your progress, you know, with clients, you hugged her, both of you chatted for a bit before you left. And Caroline was like, no, we did not chat for a bit. She came, hugged me, I did not hug her back. So where is that coming from? And guys, you see, as I said, these two women, they are own story is quite chaotic, because this one is saying one thing, the other one is saying you are lying, this one is saying another thing, this one is saying you are lying. So we don't even know who is telling the truth. And the most annoying part is these things did not happen on camera, so we can't really judge and say, okay, this one is the one that's lying, or that one is the one that is actually lying. So it gets really frustrating. You don't even know whose side to take, you know. So we're just like spectators, we're just watching, you know. And guys, that was exactly what I was doing. I was watching the back and forth, and I could not take any side at all because I was not there. The only thing I know is what was shown to us in every episode. Whatever was not shown to us in every episode, I do not know, and I cannot tell. Moving on to the part where the host had questioned Sophia about her true intentions, you know, at the Ghana trip, where she was trying to get Caroline to speak to Dabota. The host had asked Sophia if she really wanted to, you know, get both of them to reconcile. And Sophia had responded that yes, that she did not know what really was their issue. What she was trying to get them to resolve was the obvious issues that she was aware of that had happened around them, you know. Dabota's claims that Caroline had not communicated with her at all, about that whole lateness situation, only for her to see the chats that Dabota was showing her, and then there were receipts all through and through. And of course, Dabota was denying that, the timeline did not match, she did not know about the timeline, whatnot, yeah? Now, once again, I'm going to say that I was not really satisfied with how the host, questioned Sophia about that question, because what I really expected the host to ask Sophia was why Sophia, kept on pushing for Caroline to speak to Dabota, knowing fully well that Caroline was already aggravated. In other words, Sophia was the chief trigger in that moment. Yeah. And then the words that the two ladies exchanged, led to the physical violence from Caroline. Of course, majorly dependent on Dabota accusing, what's her name, Caroline, of sleeping with her ex-husband, But sadly, the host did not question Sophia about that, which once again is a huge disappointment. But guys, whilst I was reviewing that particular episode, I already explained a lot of things. So if you missed out on that, please go ahead and check out that video. Yes. Now, what was the other thing? Yeah. So the host was asking Caroline if she was going to take accountability, for going physical on Dabota. And Caroline accepted. She said, yes, she agreed, she shouldn't have gone violent. But, the fact that Dabota had accused her of committing adultery with her husband, that was a defamation. It was very aggravating, it was very annoying, and she reacted the way she did. She shouldn't have, but that was what had led to that, And you see, whilst Caroline was explaining her own side, it was so funny how the camera panned to Laura. Laura was laughing. Laura was obviously having a good time, this entire season, because, for her, it was more like payback, not coming from her directly, but from someone else. Because let's not forget that it was also the same, or let's say similar level of accusation that Caroline had thrown at Laura in season 1, when Laura was getting on Caroline's nerves, and Caroline had fired that, at her, that, word on the street, you're sleeping with small boys. Laura too had insulted Caroline like that. So hearing that Dabota had insulted, or rather accused Caroline of sleeping with her husband, it was such a big satisfaction for Laura. You could see it written all over her face. You could see her body language. It felt like she needed to start jumping and dancing. And I won't be surprised if Laura goes ahead to write a long episode, because these women, for whatever reason best known to them, they just enjoy writing very long episodes whenever they want to throw shade at each other. Yeah. But regardless, we cannot use the same, stick to measure the gravity of the situation between Caroline and Dabota as against Caroline and Laura. They are very two different situations. But anyways, moving on. Before we move on to other conversations, in this second part of the reunion show, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to hear your thoughts about this Caroline and Dabota situation, because already the reaction on social media, as usual, has been very interesting. People already have their faith and they will always support. And I find it quite interesting, because when you see a lot of people's reaction, they act like they were there when the whole thing happened. They act like they were flies in the same room, in the same environment, when these two women had their issue from 8-10 years ago. But anyways, I would love to hear your thoughts, so please go ahead and share. All right. And before we get into the rest of the conversation, you are all specially welcome to my channel. My name is Gloria Elijah. This is Frankly Speaking with Gloria Elijah, and I am the girl with the tea. Without further ado, let's just get right into the rest of the video. I deliberately started this video with the last conversation during the reunion show, because it was just chaotic and I needed to get it out of the way. All right. So we're going to go back to the top. All right. And this was the situation between Dabota and Laura. Ladies and gentlemen, frankly speaking, there wasn't really much to it. But if you all recall that particular episode where Laura and Dabota, they had a sit down to try to resolve their differences and why there seems to be some sort of friction between both of them. And Dabota had said that, a mutual friend of theirs had said, Laura said XYZ, XYZ. I don't know if you all remember. And Laura had denied it, vehemently, saying that she never said anything like that. This was about the whole scandal that Laura's sister Linda Ikeji was carrying on her blog about Dabota's marriage and the paternity of her daughter. Yes, and then the so-called Laura's reaction to it. Dabota had claimed that she had sent someone to go beg Laura to, intercede, speak to her sister on her behalf. And Laura had said, when she was enjoying all that fame and publicity on their blog, she did not complain. And now the ugly side of it is coming out and, she's upset about it. She doesn't care. Laura had denied it. She said she did not say anything like that. She doesn't even know the said person, this so-called mutual friend. She doesn't know the person, But, the host had asked both of them where their relationship is at now. And Laura had said she's trying to get to know Dabota. Dabota said the same thing. And guys, I'm going to tell you all something at the end of this video because there's something I noticed, which I'm going to mention, but I'm going to keep it for now. Yeah. But as I said before, there wasn't really anything much to it. And whilst those two were having their reconciliation, moment, Mariam had chipped in her own issue with Laura. Now, if you all recall, there was that particular episode where Laura had made a comment, like a very offensive comment about Mariam. I think it was at Caroline's ladies movie night, yes, where she was showing them her new movie. And Laura had said something offensive, which was in reference to an insult that Faith Mori had thrown at Mariam in season 2. And Mariam had picked offense, right? She had picked offense. And during her confessional, she had expressed her upset at that comment and had said she could rightly also, throw back at Laura the jab that Caroline had thrown at her, that she was getting pimped to different governors and different men in the country. Yes, and they would be even with their shades if Laura was to toe that route with her. And that had become a bone of contention at the reunion ground because Laura was like, why would you want to say that to me? Why would you want to say that to me? If you were offended, why didn't you come to me? Which was actually a valid point from Laura because, you see, guys, this is the thing about those women. If somebody says something that is offensive to you, why don't you just trash it out at that point in time? Or maybe later on, you let the person know how you feel. But guys, Mariam never told Laura that, Laura, what you said, I found it quite offensive. She did not. Instead, it was during her confessional that she now said what she said. And Laura too picked offense. And Laura was, entering Mariam like, why would you want to say that about me? You of all people, you shouldn't say that about me. And I'm thinking, okay, both of you ladies are actually right. Because Mariam was wrong for not addressing it there and then or later. And Laura, you need to learn that you cannot trigger people, you cannot provoke people and then dictate how they should react. Yeah, you should also be mindful. You should also be sensitive to people. You throw shades, and just like Mariam rightly said, Laura really goes hard with her shade. And when she's throwing her shade, she's laughing and she's all giggling and she's all excited. And you see, this was the same thing she did with Caroline in season 1. You said things about Caroline, you gave her attitude, you did a lot of things to provoke her, to trigger her. And then when she retaliated, you picked offense and you started claiming the victim. According to you, you could have said any other thing, but not that one. My family members were upset. And I'm like, well, that's to teach you to be careful, to tread carefully when attacking people. You don't attack people and then you try to dictate how they should retaliate to you. No, they can decide to use anything, at their disposal as a weapon. They can choose to weaponize anything. So you too, you should learn. Anyways, I would love to hear what you all think about that. All right. Now, on to Caroline and Laura's situation, guys. Apparently, there is another situation between these two people. I actually thought, after Caroline apologized to Laura, that was the end. No more beef, no more conflict. But then lo and behold, according to Laura, After hanging out with Caroline and the other ladies, Caroline has sent her a very lengthy message on WhatsApp and even threatened that if I catch you, or when we see, in pidgin it's like, if I catch you, if I see you, it's more like a threat that if I see you, anything I do to you, take it like that, because of what you must have done to offend me, right? And guys, see, that was quite shocking, right? And we're gonna get to the root cause of it, but this is a personal message to Caroline that in this day and age, I think it's high time Caroline stopped sending lengthy messages to people when they offend her. I think Caroline needs to stop. I think there are other ways of expressing your upset. I think there are other ways of channeling your anger. But you see that whole idea of somebody offended you and then you write a very long message and then there are threats and whatnot. In fact, and this is not just Caroline anyways. I mean, all the ladies on the show. I don't know if it's a thing. I don't know if it's a requirement, for them to prove that they are real housewives and to also have receipts. I don't know. It's weird. It's giving weird energy. Come on. You're not babies anymore. What's up with this? You write a long message. Hey, come on. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. Yeah? Now, what was the cause? In fact, before we even get to the cause, the host had asked Laura why Laura had said she does not say sorry, especially when Diadem had asked her if she was going to apologize back to Caroline, since Caroline apologized. And she had said at the time, they had not seen each other for 3 years after that fight they had in season 1, and so she does not really know where she stands with Caroline. So when the apology came, she was still trying to watch Caroline because she does not want a situation where she apologizes and then Caroline offends her again and then she begins to feel like a fool for apologizing. So she decided that she wasn't going to apologize. And I'm like, well, you still needed to apologize, Laura, because Caroline did not come at you unprovoked. You provoked her. You said things to her. So she apologized. You still owe her an apology. It's not a thing of you were watching your back. Girl, you were the one on to Caroline in season 1. But guys, what do you think about that? Let me know. Now, on the other part, she said she doesn't know where she stands with Caroline. Caroline said the same, and that was where it was revealed by Laura that Caroline had sent her this very long message, and she was quite surprised. So it turns out, according to Caroline's explanation, it turns out that Laura had been playing like she had been two-faced the entire season. She would go to Caroline, tell Caroline, you need to be careful of Sophia and Mariam. They do not have your back. And then she will go to Sophia and Mariam and tell them, Caroline does not have your back. You need to be careful. Now, Laura was saying that it was all a lie, that Caroline was lying, that she was basically telling everybody to stay neutral and not to involve themselves in anybody's beef. That she has seen something like that happen before and it might result into, a gang up situation. So don't involve yourself, don't insert yourself, which makes a lot of sense. But according to Caroline, that was not how Laura put it. That Laura had categorically told her to that she shouldn't trust Mariam and Sophia because they do not have her back. Yeah. And then it turns out that whenever there's a fight happening, what's her name now? Laura already takes sides and she's very excited. That it looks like whenever the ladies are fighting, Laura is very excited. And ladies and gentlemen, you see that thing I said I was going to tell you towards the end of this video? I'm going to be frank with you. This is it. This entire season, it seemed like Laura was kind of happy when, the ladies are having issues, especially with Caroline. I don't know. It just seemed like for her, even though Caroline had apologized, right? She just wanted people to, it's like she wanted to really prove a point that, you people think that Caroline is a nice person. Don't worry, she's going to show you who she truly is. So it's like her always waiting for Caroline to do something so that the other ladies will see that, Caroline is not really a nice person, And so when it happens that there's a quarrel happening, it's like Laura has won at that point in time. It's like she's excited. I don't know if you all saw that, but guys, I saw that happen a lot of times. And the thing with Laura was she wasn't really coming direct. But through her confessionals, the things she'll say, oh, I don't really care much for Caroline. I don't really care much for this one. I don't really care much for this one. You could just tell. But guys, that was just my own observation. I don't know about you. And typical of these women, nobody is going to agree that they are personally lying. Laura was maintaining that Caroline was lying. Caroline was maintaining that Laura indeed said what she said. And Laura trying to put Sophia on the spot, guys, I would have done exactly what Sophia did, asking Sophia, oh, Sophia, do you believe what Caroline said? Like, what do you expect her to say? Girl is going to definitely be on the fence because she definitely doesn't want to put herself in the middle of you people's quarrel because already she has received a lot of heat already. She was doing the same thing, asking Mariam. And guys, see here, with these women, none of them is ever going to, own up and say, okay, I lied. No, nobody wants to look bad. But guys, I want to hear what you think about that situation. So please share in the comment section below. Now, finally, we've come to the end of the reunion, all right? And I particularly loved Sophia's final statement, where she was telling the ladies, everybody, that listen, they need to extend grace to one another, especially with regards to the rumors and the scandals, the dirty scandals about them on social media, because from time to time, they get dragged on social media. Sophia, Dabota, who else? Yeah, they get really dragged, So the fact that Dabota was riding the waves of those negative rumors or scandals about her to score cheap point, it wasn't fair because she too has, ammunition of things that has been said about Dabota on social media that she could have easily used against Dabota as well, but she chose not to because it wasn't necessary. And so she had concluded that she was going to invite them all to her house, and a boat still remains a boat. The famous boat, that boat still remains a boat, but she's going to invite all of them to her house and she's going to make a video of it so that they will see things for themselves, And guys, I totally agreed with what she said about the ladies giving each other grace. But frankly speaking, I don't think Sophia owes anybody any explanation. If she's going to invite the women to her house, fine. It's all, it's all her choice. But I don't think she needs to prove anything. Yeah, because at the end of the day, people can lie and people will tell the truth, and those who will lie will not come out and tell you that they lied. Those who tell the truth, well, you might not know if it's the entire truth or if it is their only truth, right? So ladies and gentlemen, I leave it at that. This is the end of this season of the Real Housewives of Lagos. I am glad that it has ended because it was hectic. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. So please go ahead and share. I'll see you guys on another episode of Frankly Speaking with Gloria Elijah. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your evening.